to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You're joined by your usual hosts, Sir Josh Hartley and Ben Porter. Ben, how we doing?
Yeah, doing good. Had dinner, had a bit of a recording sesh, and
Yes.
straight back into it.
Just we're getting through and we're getting organised.
Absolute machines.
Yes.
That we are.
So we've got a bit to talk about. I have a lot to chat about actually about Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Mr. Mannering, the GM himself, actually did point out I've been a little lax in mentioning the Pathfinder game.
Yeah,
However,
so the version of this story I heard was a bit different.
okay, what did he say?
He said that he said to you that he's a bit disappointed that you've not been talking more about Pathfinder.
He might have used the phrase disappointment, but
And you were quite taken aback at first, yeah.
Well, yeah, I was. but we a lot's happened, and we're at a good point to do like a big recap, because we're kind of at, if the campaign was a TV series, we've just hit the end of the season, right?
The season finale.
We've had the season finale.
Yes.
So I shall regale you with those tales in a moment. But we both saw Tom over the weekend, and this was our friend Scot's stag do.
Scot, of course, who's been on the podcast a couple of times now.
Yes. Very much looking forward to his wedding next month.
Yes.
But we got to be not only men, but big nerdy men as well. Now, unfortunately, I actually missed out on all the gaming side of it.
Yep.
Apart from, I don't know, an escape room's not really a tabletop experience, but
it's a gaming experience.
yeah.
And there's definitely some tabletop versions of escape rooms.
Yes.
So I think
it
it counts.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. But you were there on the Sunday when you guys were playing Age of Sigmar, and you played a one-shot of Dungeons and Dragons. So how did that go?
Which one? The battle?
Both. Not at the same time, not simultaneously.
No, I mean, I don't think anyone could do that. There's only
Try.
Yeah, I think that would be quite stressful, actually. It sounds nice, but it's like in practicality and practice, that's one too many plates to spin.
Yeah. So the battle first of all.
I don't want to talk about it.
Ooh.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. If you asked Tom about it, it was that bad. But
yeah,
I'm
gonna have to now.
Yeah, I think the phrase "stomp on my dick" may have been bandied about a few times.
Well, we've got the episode name.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom wasn't having the best time in the battle anyway. So Scot, Ewan, and Mark were on a team, and it was a Death Chaos coalition.
So good. They're the good guys then, right?
Definitely not.
No.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to explain this to you, Josh.
Why?
But the guys who raise the dead and who rape, pillage, and spread disease are not the good guys.
I mean, do they rape, pillage, and spread disease in that order?
I don't think they're so concerned about the order it happens in.
Right. So why are they
the bad guys?
Why are they the bad guys? Maybe they're just misunderstood.
I think that what I've just said explains.
I think you need to apply moral objectivity here, Ben. Just because we consider, raping, pillaging, and spreading diseases acts of evil doesn't mean that all cultures.
I mean, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
So, and you and Tom were elves, humans.
Do you want a smack? Is that what you're going for tonight? We were dwarfs, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Or Dwarin.
Dwarden, I believe.
Dwarves.
Interestingly enough, apparently that is the Saxon word for dwarfs.
Ah.
That's where it comes from, because obviously there's a lot of overlap with the Norse and Saxon.
Norse and Saxon mythology, yeah.
Apparently that's where that comes from, anyway.
Cool.
But yeah, so Tom was playing Dispossessed, which is like old school dwarfs.
Yeah.
So it's like lots
OGs.
of black powder, crossbows,
Mm-hmm.
sword and board, or axe and board, as it
Mhm.
were. And I was the mighty fire slayers.
Yeah, the mean fire slayers as well.
Yeah.
Like, pretty handy in close combat, but the look of the day wasn't going your way.
Nah, it was just one of those ones where it was Murphy's Law was in effect for us. Everything that could have went wrong did go wrong.
Mhm.
But that being said,
I don't believe that's the exact wording of Murphy's Law, but yeah.
yeah, that is Murphy's Law paraphrased.
It's a little more explicit, but
Yeah,
enough on that.
yeah. But that being said, considering things didn't go to plan, it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
All right.
And we did kill Scot's general on his stag do.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah, he got cannoned as well.
To the face.
Did he get cannoned? No, he got cannoned and then he got shot.
Yeah, and you're saying you're the good guys? Like,
Well, you just spoke about the relativism of morality, so
there we go.
yeah,
Throw that argument right back at me.
yeah. So yeah, I think the final score was 8-6.
Okay. That sounds quite close.
Yeah, it was. I think what edged it out in the end was they managed to get my Magma Droth. So it's like you get a point for taking down something with 10 wounds or more.
Yeah.
And I think they only had one model on the table that met that criteria, so strictly speaking we were playing with a bit of a handicap.
Okay, right.
Like looking at it in hindsight. But it was a good day, and Tom and myself were magnanimous enough to let Scot win on his stag do.
You let him win.
Yep. That's my
That's
story, and I'm sticking to it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But later on in the day, it wasn't fierce competition so much as fierce cooperation?
Yeah.
Is that how you describe D&D? I don't know.
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? Like depending on who you're playing with, sometimes it can actually be quite competitive.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been in a few D&D parties where it's devolved into a pissing contest between characters, like trying to intimidate each other and all that, But so as you're saying, like we had a D&D one shot later on in the day, and we. Tom, in preparation for this, basically asked us what sort of characters you want to play.
So you went dwarf.
Yeah.
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 There we go. I didn't try and wind you up.
Yeah. You were sincere there. Thank you.
I'm learning.
Thank you.
I'm learning.
Specifically, this was quite cool. Was I just told Tom I'd like to play a Gloomstalker dwarf, which is Gloomstalker's one of the new subclasses or archetypes.
So it's subclass of ranger, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're Batman, basically.
Yeah,
Hunt in the night.
So normally rangers are traversing mountains or forests. Gloomstalkers hunt things in caves and underground. So really it is quite apt that a dwarf would be a Gloomstalker.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So I was playing a Gloomstalker called Turin Greyspine.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually the younger brother of Scot's character.
Who was also a dwarf, obviously.
Tuareg Greyspine.
Tuareg and
Turin. Yeah.
Good names.
Yeah.
Strong names.
We tried to follow the sort of Norse sounding dwarven formula for names. So Tuareg was a fighter, and he's the heir to the throne, as it were.
Yes.
He's not royalty, strictly speaking, but he's from a noble family.
Yeah. He's the heir apparent to this family. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like a stone carver, and like everyone thinks he's great. And my character Turin, being a second son, took work as a mercenary. He was like working as a guard throughout the hold, so he's a bit more of a vagabond than his brother.
Sure.
But when Tuareg sets out into the world, Turin decides to accompany him. And
They are brothers after all.
yeah, for all their brothers, they're dwarfs at the end of the day as well, and family's a big deal, even if you are a mercenary. So that was our characters. Ewan played a human barbarian called Thrud Woodsman.
Yes.
Totally not a rip-off of Ron Swanson.
It's Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreations.
Yeah,
basically.
he copied and pasted that a wee bit. Yeah, but it was fun.
But that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thrud did actually make a brief appearance in our Pathfinder campaign.
Really?
Yes. I will explain more later.
Okay. Right. So yeah, Thrud Woodsman. Mark played an elven ranger called Malik, who had a double identity.
Oh.
He was also posing as an elven diplomat called Pharos, I believe.
All right.
So he could use that to open a few doors. So charlatan
Interesting.
through and through.
Yeah.
But back in town,
A useful charlatan.
Yeah, they think he's an ambassador. Kate played a gnomic bard, a gnome. Do you say gnomic?
Gnomic.
Gnome.
Gnome.
He's played a gnome.
Yeah.
He's played a gnome bard called Strata, and yeah, she's like this sort of clowny jester type character.
The comic relief. This is usually the character that I occupy.
Yeah, the Josh character. Yeah,
Well, maybe not. Let's maybe not go just for the Josh.
yeah, the Josh of the group.
Oh, great. Oh.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. Then Dave played I can't remember the name of it, but the character is basically you take a rogue, you take a wizard, and then they
mash them together.
They have a baby,
right?
and then this thing comes out. So it's like a sorcerer,
A rogue,
yeah, like a sort of shadowmancer type character. And his name was Dalen.
Dalen.
Yeah.
Was he a bit creepy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we managed to get to this lair. We've been tasked with finding the crown of the forest, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this mythical helmet that this ancient warlord wore. And rumour has it that if you put it on, you either turn into a stag or can summon a stag. There's different stories about it.
Okay.
So we make our way through the dungeon, and we get the usual, like I was scouting ahead, like to try and map out the room, and I would report back and on what I'd seen. But eventually we stumble across this guy who's all like wide-eyed and crazy, and like he's filthy, and he's wearing what looks like the remains of some sort of uniform.
Right.
And eventually we deduce that he's a deserter, and his uniform matches the bodies of all the corpses that are outside the cave. So all the evidence points to the fact that this was at one point a base of operations for these guys, but something's moved in on him.
Sure.
When we were still in town, we found out that there was a reward for deserters and bandits. You get 3 gold for near.
Okay.
So my character, being a bit more pragmatic than some of the others, says, right, let's take his ears. We might as well kill him, put him out of his misery. And a lot of the other characters objected to that, and my character, Turin, responds to that by saying, look, why is this guy exempt from the law? He's broken the law, he has to pay the price. He shouldn't be exempt just because he's crazy. And then all the while this guy's standing listening to all of these people arguing about his fate.
Whether they're going to cut his ears off or not.
Yeah. And then eventually Turig, being the leader of the expedition, says there was nothing in the contract that said that the ears had to be detached.
Oh, there we go.
So he says to bind them. So Turin frisks him for weapons, ties him up, and leaves them in a corner. And with the idea being that we come back later on. And then just as our characters round the corner, Dalen, the creepy sorcerer rogue baby, cuts the guy's bonds and says to him, "You belong to the clasp now." He sends him away. Plot twist.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's a one shot, so we'll never find out.
I know. Well, all of us afterwards were saying, like, really want to
develop this
to play this again sometime. I think in particular, Dave's character sounds quite interesting.
Yeah.
But so basically, on the way back out of the cave, we we found the bonds were cut.
Yeah.
And my character picks them up and said that the bonds had been cut, and then someone's like, "Oh, he probably cut them himself." And I was like, "I frisked him for weapons. Something
no way.
or someone has cut these bonds." He passes his deception checks, but then Malik and Dalen start arguing in Thieves' Cant, which is a language that only rogues speak.
Yeah.
And so that arouses suspicions.
Yeah.
Because my character says, "I don't understand what you're saying, but I understand the tone."
Yeah.
So he doesn't know who has done it, but he's now suspicious of both of these characters because it's because at first people were like, would that arouse suspicion? And like I've said, like when you're in the street, you can recognize when someone is speaking Spanish and not Italian without necessarily understanding because you're familiar with the sounds. Yeah. And with him being a mercenary, he'll have heard people speaking Thieves' Cant in the camps. So this was where that whole plot was sort of left, was with Turin sort of eyeing the two of them suspiciously.
To be continued.
Yeah. But as far as the quest went, eventually we got through the dungeon. We encountered an aberration, which is a horrifying thing with loads of different mouths on it. But eventually we had to fight a manticore. Oh,
delightful.
Yeah. So
as you do.
Turin cut the head off with a massive battle axe, which was nice.
Satisfying.
Yeah, that was quite satisfying. But it was a really interesting cast of characters.
Yeah.
Because normally a lot of the time what happens in a D&D campaign is, although people have all of these different moral alignments, is there's more often than not a degree of consensus. So it was quite interesting to see a group that's thrust together that, without a leader uniting them, would probably kill each other.
Yeah.
And that's another dynamic you don't often see, is one player character being appointed as a leader.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And which obviously Scot was.
Yeah, with it, and that was done by default because it was a stag. But at the same time, it's like that's something I would like to see a bit more in the RPGs of that sort of ilk, is to have the leader not necessarily dictating, but when there's an argument, having the last word.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you guys had a great time. I'm disappointed I wasn't able to make the Sunday sessions, but I mean, it sounds like you had great fun.
Oh, it was brilliant, and like we were all saying, like it'd be great to revisit this at some point. So I think potentially might be hearing a bit more from that little group.
Yeah, watch the space, guys, and thanks again for Tom for organising all the gaming and non-gaming events of
he did a great job
Stag.
Pulling it all together.
Yeah, so that was our weekend, but wow, we've got a lot to talk about Orlan Goodseller and his adventures in Boskenland. So I think where I last left it, the last time I provided an update.
Well, remember Scott gave us an update.
That's true. So we've come back to King's Home.
So the last time Scott updated us was you were set upon by orcs, and you nearly died.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we did defeat them. The battle was ours, and we made a decision to try and tail them to see where they were based, and we came across this ruined fortified manor. We managed to, I being the skilled ranger, of course, managed to track the orcs and figure out when to go off the track so that we could overtake them and get to where they were heading. So we found their hold, this ruined fortified manor, that they'd built up a bit. And so we raided the manor, taking out the guards on the way, and we managed to confront the leader of the orcs. Okay. And it wasn't what we were expecting. I mean, you described to me how you would picture a leader of a war band of orcs.
Well, they're normally the sort of might is right type culture, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So he's usually bigger and stronger, but it has to be said, generally speaking, you don't just rise to the top of a whole warband of orcs by being a thug. Mm-hmm. You're usually an orc leader's at least got a sort of low cunning.
Yeah. Well, this guy, and this is what I think made him quite sinister. This guy wasn't that at all. He was quite. He almost had like a sort of mock civilization to him. He was, not skinny, but he was small.
Yeah.
Well dressed, well presented, and he had a sort of scholarly look to him as well. Of course, we find him in this throne room that he's mocked together with his bodyguard. There's a. Did we mention there was we heard about spies in the settlements working for him? Well, one of his spies, Gurn, who was a little gnome, he was there, along with Bugbear, who was some sort of mercenary, and his personal bodyguard. So we tried to reason with him. The reason he was saying anyway that he started this campaign of harassing the human settlements was that he was captured and tortured by humans in the Free City prior to this, and after he made his escape, he swore to wreak vengeance and claim Boskan land for all of orc kind, and he's been spending the years making alliances and bringing together all the disparate clans of orcs across the entire land. Needless to say, he was not listening to us one iota. There was no way he was going to go for diplomacy, and to be fair, we didn't have much to offer him. But so we did fight, and I managed to take down the big guy himself. Shot to the head from a trusty bow and arrow. We even managed to fight off a couple of wargs that were let loose on us as well. And then once the fight was over, we could hear clattering through the hallway more orcs. But when they came in and saw their leader was dead, and bear in mind they were all from different clans, we persuaded them, right, walk away now. We won't kill you. And as they walked away, all the different clans started separating and going their own ways, squabbling as well.
Yeah, as they do.
As they do. But on our way out, we saw a couple of orcs trying to drag some slaves off. So I, the 3-foot halfling, tried to intimidate them.
Why?
Because they shouldn't be doing that to slaves. That's not very nice.
Yeah, but what were you thinking? What was your end game?
Well, I'll tell you how this all played out. One of them starts laughing at me, to which my response, loaded up my bow and shot him. And the arrow just planted right in his chest, and his laughter turns to like him going, "Ow!" so at that point, Tharek, being the cleric and being well-natured, kind of heals him up a little bit and just says, "Go now." Yeah. So they run off and leaving the slaves, and as it turns out, some of the slaves were dwarves. Not only were they dwarves, but these were dwarves that Tharek knew.
Oh.
Tharek, being a cleric, was one of his last tasks before travelling Boskanland was he was going to oversee the marriage between two noble families, right? But the bride disappeared. So he went off in search of the bride, and this is what his sort of ulterior motive throughout the entire campaign has been. It's been to figure out what's happened to her. Well, here she is, in a bridal gown and everything. And the personal bodyguard's there as well. There's something a bit shady about him. We're not sure what just yet.
Okay.
But once we discovered them, we set about searching the manor itself. And realised that we left the horses out with a bunch of marauding orcs, and sure enough, someone stole them. So we've had to make the long journey back on foot.
Yeah.
So, making our way back to King's Home, in our absence, it turns out that it has not only suffered one but two different attacks while we've been gone. One from the retreating orcs, now having discovered that their leader is dead, and they thought they'd have one last punt at it. But there was another attack by a big warband of ogres.
So it saves them a journey, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, while we're here, we might as well sack King's Home.
Yeah, I mean, well, may as well take a pit stop.
Yeah.
Right, pillage a little,
yeah,
and then move on.
Like, we go all the way back to Orkland, then we have to get a warband, and then we have to travel back. We're here.
Let's just do it now.
Yeah.
Let's just do it now. But they managed to fend off those, but the ogres were more problematic, and we may have Ewan's character Griffin may have given Thordor Landros, the sort of de facto mayor of King's Home, a bit of a hard time for not being in the battle that we previously partook in. So when these ogres arrived, he said, "No, it's time that I need to take a stand and I need to lead the fight."
Mm-hmm.
Thordor's not a good fighter.
I was going to say, usually sort of clerical type folk.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Thordor, we've learned, has passed away in the battle. Half the town is ruined. So we arrive back to find that the remaining survivors have started packing up and are forming a caravan. Now, Neris the noble from the Free City has been helping organise the caravan.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is that we go to the Free City, and he has a considerable estate there that he's going to tap into, sell off, and use the funds to establish a new settlement in Boskenland somewhere. And the plan at the moment is to reoccupy and repurpose this fortified manor. Prime real estate, after all.
Yeah.
And not much in terms of title deeds in Boskenlands. I think whatever's yours is yours.
Like
so
frontier land,
yes.
basically.
So the overall plan now is to establish a new settlement and expand from there. Now, this is the really cool thing. So we're hitting a bit of a time lapse now. So I think we're going into months and years are going to pass in between sessions as we establish the settlement.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an entire rule set about building a kingdom, which is what we're diving into.
Tom and Scott were talking to me about this on the drive
It
back.
sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So
it's going to almost be like Age of Empires meets Pathfinder.
Yep. So we've got all the we'll have the sort of adventuring side of your traditional RPGs, but we will also have the sort of strategic and management side of maybe, I don't know how it's going to quite pan out, but maybe something like a Euro game. Sorry, I know you don't like that phrase, but
We'll bleep that out.
yeah. But we'll have that element of it as well, which I'm really looking forward to diving into. The cool thing is there's so many different responsibilities to occupy that you assign NPCs to them as well. And one of the more prominent NPCs is Orland's cousin, Sten Goodseller. And
it's something video games have been doing really well for years.
Yeah.
It's nice to see tabletop games taking a stab at it. Because
Mm-hmm.
this is something that's got us quite excited for Wasteland Warfare, right? Is the idea that you can allegedly build and upgrade your settlement.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's gonna get you, I mean, even more invested than you already are once you've created a character. We've created a home as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's taken the personalization, the customization, that sense of ownership to another level.
Exactly.
Because more often than not, in tabletop games, your sense of ownership really is limited to your character and to your equipment.
Yeah.
your character in a tabletop game, generally speaking, doesn't have a huge effect on the wider world. And to be fair, that's something that can be quite hard to simulate without an extra degree of effort on the part of the GM and the players as well. It's easy to do in a video game, right? Because like Fable did it. Remember, like you would make a decision, and then the landscape would 10 years would pass, and the landscape would be different because of that decision.
Yeah, and you see how your actions have consequences, but it takes a lot more investment, I think, from players and GMs to pull that off in an RPG. But I'm really looking forward to giving it a go. Very different experience to what I've had with previous RPG campaigns.
A huge change of pace as well, because like you were saying, like the time periods are going to become more incremental in order to be able to really see the world change in a meaningful way.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Again, like Fable's a good example. Fable does that. In order for you to get a broader sense of the world reacting to your decisions. Like Fable will jump forward a couple of years, sometimes 10 years, I think, at times.
You can see how things have changed, what you did to change it as well, for the better or the worse.
Yep.
So looking forward to trying that. But so, like I said earlier on, you can think of the point where we're at now in the campaign is like the end of the season. We've finished the story arc of our homes being destroyed and us getting revenge on the orcs and eliminating them as a threat. But now it's going to be establishing our new home and fighting the elements, fighting the land, and trying to tame it and make it our own. The nice thing about coming to this point is all of our characters we gave ourselves secrets right at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And you'll remember I didn't start as Orlan.
No.
I started as Elad Finn, the sheriff. So Elad died, killed by a cultist, like all good men, except he wasn't such a good man. Elad's secret was that he was a spy for the orcs.
The scholarly orc?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was working with them. And it was nice because the other players had discovered that he was a traitor. We found in one of the orc camps correspondence referring to him, and that he had died. So people had figured it out, but they didn't know what the motive was and what would have happened. Yeah. So it was nice to be able to discuss freely the reasons why Elad was driven to what he did. And it was kind of the way I viewed it, like the orcs, the Black Wolves, were almost like orc fascists. And he was suckered into that. He was getting so frustrated with the sort of bureaucracy and hypocrisy of civilization. And the deal that was struck between local thieves was kind of like the last straw. These are thieves, these are outlaws, we shouldn't be dealing with them. But that's what the council ruled.
He sort of viewed the orcs as a sort of League of Shadows type organisation. They're going to come in and wipe the slate clean.
Exactly. Like, start civilization anew, might is right. If you're the bad guy, off with your head.
Yeah.
And he got suckered into that and just really bought into it. And he was a really different character for me. To anyone who's been who's ever played
quite a tragic character, actually.
Yeah, anyone who's played an RPG with me will know that I have like a tendency to go towards happy-go-lucky.
They're quite goofy characters.
Yeah, and maybe Orlan's not quite goofy, but he's definitely light-hearted.
Yeah.
Right? And like really what you see is what you get, right? But to play a character so sinister... and I remember we were talking about it before it was revealed to everyone else that he was a traitor, and I was telling you about it, and you made the point, there's something particularly nasty about traitors.
Yeah.
Like, almost all cultures revile someone who stabs their own kind in the back.
Yeah.
And that's what Elad was doing. It was a shame that he didn't survive to see the end, because we were talking about it, and Scott actually asked, so would you have sided with the orcs in the end? I just went, yep. We would have got to that throne room and Elad would have turned his sword against you. and that would have been such a cool moment to play. But having a cool story arc isn't protection against a great axe.
It is almost a shame that it didn't get to that throne room scene.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Because I mean, can you imagine that? Like, he just takes out the knife and just stabs one of the other characters in the back.
That would have been, and that's kind of the climax that I was working towards with Ellard for the story.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out that way, but it was still a really great experience to try my hand at someone really different, because he was in the classic D&D alignments. I'd written on my sheet of paper lawful neutral, but in my head, and I told Tom as well, this guy's really lawful evil.
Yeah.
And he was a nasty piece of work. Really, really difficult trying to get my mindset into playing a character like that, but really rewarding.
Because remember a while ago we talked about the whole moral alignment thing and how it can at times be restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually found myself, like, when I've been creating new characters, just skipping it.
You don't even think about it and just...
Because I feel like it's too black and white.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's degrees of it, but even there I feel like there's certain situations where a good character, a nasty side to them could come out.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, of course, I
feel like that compass doesn't quite account for that.
Well, we made the point previously. Evil people don't think they're evil.
No.
Evil, they have a justification, and Ellard had his.
Well, like, Negan's a great example of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, he murders people, but then there's a bit when one of his other guys talks about killing everyone, he slams his bat down on the table, he says, people are the foundation of what we are building.
Yeah.
And you think, this guy has some twisted sense of honour.
Yeah. It's really interesting playing a character like that, anyway. But nice at the same time to be back in my comfort zone playing a halfling.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that pretty much catches us up to the campaign in Boskenland, and I think that's pretty much time on the episode as well.
I have to say, like, to sum this episode up, because we've talked exclusively about RPGs this episode. Just like, because we've had a lot of conversation with people who write RPGs or involved in them, and you've always had your finger in that pie, as it were.
Yeah.
And me, I've sort of blown hot and cold with it. More cold than hot, if I'm being truthful. But of late, I really feel my interest in RPGs being rekindled, or at least it's I'm in a place where it's something that I'm quite keen to explore it a bit more, because, like I've said to you before, I've had a lot of false starts with campaigns.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing with RPGs, is that unlike your sort of standard tabletop experience with board games or card games or whatever, it needs commitment. To get the most out of it, you need to be really committed to it, and like, you just go, right, we meet every 2 weeks, every week, once a month, and we do that without fail. And you get into the characters as well, and get into the sense of creating a story with the games master as well.
Yeah.
And if you throw yourself into that, and it's an experience not quite like anything else. I think when we were talking to Matt Machel, I was saying it's unique in terms of a storytelling experience, because it's not being dictated to you. You influence it. You can control, to a degree, you can control it, and you're part of it. And that's something quite different to anything else.
It has a structured but improvisational feel to it, because not only do the characters have to respond to events, that a good DM, a good GM, whatever you want to call him or her, will also respond to events. Because it's like we had Tom a while back talking about GMing, and like he said, like, things seldom, if ever, go according to plan. Like, because he was saying that, like, you write up pages and pages and maps and all that, then the players will just go off the other direction. and then that's it. You're improvising.
Yeah. So, we have waxed lyrically about the virtues of RPGs, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to us. But that's us all caught up on the Pathfinder campaign I'm in. I will keep you up to date. And thanks again, Tom.
Yep.
I hope we're pretty much dedicated half an episode to it, so I hope you're not so disappointed now.
Yeah, well, it's worth saying as well, like that our listeners are probably going to be hearing a little bit more from Tom in the future, because we've been asked to look at a couple of different RPGs and supplements and things.
Eager to try a few out.
And Tom's going to be helping us out with that. So if you've enjoyed episodes where Tom's been on, look out for that in the future.
Yep, stay tuned. But guys, look, thank you very much for listening. It's been great, and take care. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Charlotte from the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. All you need to do is search Unlucky Frog Gaming. You can also show your support for the Unlucky Frog through Patreon. To find out more information, check out our website www.unluckyfrog.com. Thanks, bye!